All right, Marty.
All right. Hey, hold tight.
Long time no see, my friend. How are we?
Very good, my man.
Yeah,
Very good. Better now that I've seen you, mate.
I know.
7 weeks. Although we've been pinging voice notes back and forth while I was away.
I know. A bit late this morning, weren't you? I just seen you running down
I
the
thought
road.
you were going to let me off with that one, man. I'm trying to... Look, I'm sweating over here. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to make any excuses, mate. I'm never normally late, but...
I know. Well, look, mate, good to see you. Just come back off holidays. A lot of stuff being going on. I know we were having conversations while you were over there. Some big milestones happened for you and some big kind of life lessons, it sounds like, my friend. So we'll get into that. But obviously, Marty, you're a good friend of mine. You know, we play volleyball, and I think we're on a similar growth journey together. We're kind of taking our little path, and it's good that we catch up regular. And obviously, not a lot of men have that, and I think it's good that we do have that. It means a lot to me, and hopefully, it means a lot to you. So for me, what I want to get into first is understand a little bit more about you and where you've come from. You know, even in our conversation, sometimes as men, you don't go proper deep. And a lot of men and women, we don't necessarily go, I call it pulling the thread on someone, because, you know, whatever you are here, the thread's from something over here, right? It's this program that makes you the person you are, your experiences. So I just wanted to understand a little bit about you. You know, what made you the man you are today? What experience have you had, you know, from your childhood for your high level? And, you know, we don't need to spit here for 4 hours going, you know, chapter and verse. But I'm really interested in, you've had been very successful in the stuff that you've achieved. And I know you, and you're on this different journey now. And I'm really interested in your insights of how that's built you and what you are today, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, man. But how long have you got is the question, you know what I mean? But yeah, so I've actually been reflecting a lot on this, actually, when I was away, because, as you know, I went away for a long time. Long story short, I went to Europe. Janini and I obviously proposed to Janini, just for the audience. That's what he was talking about. Yeah, thank you very much, my man.
Shook your hand properly.
Yeah, thank you. I know. I was going to say, because I was late, see, he was holding on to that, right? He was like, he's late, he's not getting that handshake. But so proposed to Janini on the trip to Europe. You know, went back to see family, as you know, we're both from the UK, etc., etc. So we had a great trip, and I actually was lucky enough to go away, like yourself, with your family. You went away to Mykonos, one of the Greek islands. I went to Santorini, my mum, sister, and Janini. So I had some time to reflect there. And yeah, in terms of my upbringing, long story short, single mother, you know, dad wasn't around. Dad had, a lot of post-traumatic stress. It was one of those things where my mum never talked bad about him or anything like that. So it wasn't like, you see that a lot, right? Sometimes you see parents using their kids as like weapons. My mum never done that. She was like, you know, encouraging me to see my dad. So met my dad.
If you don't mind me asking, what was that post-traumatic stress
Yeah,
from?
totally fine. So he went to the Falklands War. So he actually went to war.
Wow.
And at a young age, you know what I mean? And this is what you see a lot of these young soldiers nowadays. They go to war. They're 19, 20. He was 21, 22. You know, the Sir Galahad ship. A lot of people know about this anyway. Have a look at the Falklands War. All his friends got essentially, you know, blown up on the ship, Sir Galahad ship.
Wow.
I actually met him when I went back home. You know, we've got a bit of a relationship, but not as good as I'd like it to be honest, but it is what it is. And yeah, they're still dealing with a lot of stuff from that now in terms of, you know, there's a big, massive kind of debate they've got going on, etc. But anyway, so he wasn't around, but I met him when I was 16 and stuff like that. And luckily for me, my mum always pushed me to play sports. So going back to what you said about my character, what made me the man I am. Fortunately for me, my mum was always like pushing me to play sports and stuff like that. So I was always around other men, like you were playing football from a young age, right? Or soccer, as they're saying. I don't have to say soccer, football. Why am I saying that?
It's
I've got too many
mate.
American clients, man. Yeah. And I used to play rugby from a young age. And yeah, always competitive, always active and stuff like that. So luckily, you know, grew up like yourself, you know, kind of council estate in Cardiff. And, you know, my upbringing was, you know, really good. Luckily, I had a lot of love from my mum. I had everything I needed. I never went without food, any of those kind of things, you know what I mean? But when I look back, and obviously going back to me reflecting in Santorini, you know, mum went through a lot, like, you know, it was a lot of struggle, you know, growing up and stuff. But that is mainly what made me the man I am, because my mum's determination. She's had an illness. She unfortunately got diagnosed with like this really rare autoimmune illness when I was younger, when my sister was born. So that was 30 years ago now, actually. And yeah, she's dealt with that for my whole life. And because of her determination and perseverance, you know, there's one point where, you know, she almost died. We were actually talking about this when I was away. And before I came to Australia, probably 9 years ago, she almost died with an operation she had to have a bag, basically, one of those bags, because of her issues with her bowels and all that kind of stuff. And then, yeah, long story short, you know, she went through a lot, and her determination and her, you know, encouraging me to, you know, still try and build a relationship with my dad and all those kind of things, fortunately meant for me that I've still got a relationship with my dad, which I think is really, really important, as you know, right? I think it all goes back to, the stuff that you're talking about and building, right? Good men helping good men. You need to have the right influential men around you, So I feel like I've had some of that in my life, fortunately, through sports and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we can kind of fast forward then into how I go into bodybuilding.
So that was a bit of a gap with your dad there, because of obviously what he'd been through.
Yep.
And having a single parent kind of on the day-to-day bringing you through. Do you think that was a gap that affected you, not having that solid male mentor to be kind of
absolutely, yeah, and that's
guiding you?
Definitely, man. And that's something we can go into. And it's only now when you talk about it, it makes me realize that I had my sister's dad, who was around and stuff, but he was more of like a friend than a dad, to be honest.
Yeah.
It wasn't really like the perfect role model, long story short. So that definitely played a part in terms of me trying to get external validation and all of those kind of things as I was getting older. So, we can fast forward into that and stuff, but I've always been trying to lead people myself. Even in my street when I was younger, I used to coach all the younger kids and stuff. Obviously, that's what I do now, right? So I think I was trying to kind of pass down what I didn't have. I was trying to always do that with other kids, like trying to coach them and mentor them. And obviously that's pretty much what I do now, funny enough.
Yeah, so you just touched on there. So you've obviously done a lot in your life, and you just touched on there kind of in the bodybuilding phase. So what do you think was why did you decide that you wanted to go through that bodybuilding phase? Have you kind of unpicked that yourself now? Because I know you talk about it, I've heard you in some of your previous conversations, that actually, although it looks good on the outside, how you were behaving then was really unhealthy, and it really affected you mentally. So
100%, man. Yeah, we can backtrack to just before that as well. We can talk about, like, if you want to go there now, so we can kind of put it through a little bit of a storyline quickly. The mental health stuff that I struggled with was before bodybuilding, right? Essentially, I struggled with some mental health stuff in my early 20s, but going back to what we said before on my podcast was, the lifestyle, right? Coming from the UK, you're out partying all the time. It's part of the lifestyle, drinking, all the other stuff, that comes with that. And essentially I had built some self-destructive behaviors. There's a lot of addiction in my family and stuff like that as well. And, cut a long story short, I traveled. That's when I first went to Oz, right? That's how I ended up back here, which we can touch on. I traveled the world when I was like 22 with my ex-girlfriend at the time. Went to Australia, came back from that. And then we split up, didn't work out. And then that's when I started getting these kind of mental health issues. I was getting like intrusive thoughts and all those kind of things. And, yeah, man. And then again, when I look back, I didn't know this at the time, but I didn't really have a tribe, right? So I came back from this trip with my ex-girlfriend. We went for 5 months, came back, and I kind of cut ties with my schoolmates and stuff. We just didn't really have much in common anymore. And then I was like, didn't realize what it was at the time. And then eventually I managed to find my tribe and stuff. But that was a really, really tough time. And it went on for about 18 months, I think it was. Mental health struggles. This is about 3 years before bodybuilding.
Did it get pretty dark?
Got really dark, man. Got really dark. And actually my mum brought this up when I was away, Janini was there as well. I'm open about it, right? I think it's really important to be open about these things. Be open and vulnerable. Exactly, man. I'll go, I'm happy to go deep on these things. I think a lot of men need to understand that. I think most of us have struggled, with dark times. And we try and hide it as men, right? We think we got to be strong.
Yep. Can't
show weakness. But is that actually the truth, or is that, programming? And the reality is, being open and honest and sharing who you are is number one, really courageous. But then if you're looking to become someone else, looking back on that, because I had to reinvent myself, and this wasn't something I was thinking at the time. But yeah, long story short, my mum said to me, and she said, I remember that one time when it'd been going on for about a year at this point, right? So it's like obsessive thoughts, intrusive thoughts. And it's hard to say, I won't go too deep into the thoughts and stuff like that, but it's hard to say what triggers that off. But there's all these things, obviously childhood, obviously didn't have my tribe, not taking care of myself. So I was still going to the gym. I was a PT at the time, but I wasn't. Nutrition, lifestyle, terrible, right? So,
yeah, that's interesting, because obviously within the Good Men framework, we talk around the holistic approach to fulfillment, and mental health isn't just one kind of avenue. And so, because I've got your scores here from kind of at your worst, which I imagine would have been around that era,
absolutely,
that time, and kind of how you are today. So we'll touch on that in a second. But for most kind of men out there, or anybody out there who's kind of looking to aspire to be something, or, really be successful in whatever field, if you look at what you'd achieved, you did really well in the bodybuilding, right? You've created a large following. You were doing great stuff. But if I look at your rating, then when somebody might be looking and go, okay, and that's this social media paradox, right? They're looking at you, you're out there, 50, 60,000 followers, whatever it is, you're on the move, you've set your mind on something, you've achieved it, you've won a competition, and you're at your best. But when I look at your scores, out of a score of a 20, and within the 5-pillar framework, we talk around health and fitness, internal work, love and relationships, social connections, and work and life flow. You were 0 in internal work, love and relationships, and work and life flow. You were 2 in health and fitness, and you were 2 in social connections. So out of a score of 20, you were scoring 4 then. And what you're telling me through this simple framework, you're explaining that was probably one of the darkest times. And again, I would imagine you were considering a lot of stuff about your existence right back then, right? And if we talk around men going through, or anybody kind of going through, when you start scoring low on all of these pillars, and some men don't have a safety net. For you, that safety net, even keeping it at 2, going to the gym, doing the thing, that might have been your safety net. I know it's helped me in times. Social connections, you still had 2. You might have had a couple of friends who you can turn to. A lot of people are scoring 0 on that, and that safety net's gone. And when you don't have someone to talk to, the loneliness epidemic is huge. Once that's gone, where'd you fucking turn, right? So I think it's really important to see a lot of people look at these people and think, fucking hell, look how amazing they do. And it's no kind of... it's no surprise that we see a lot of famous people who kill themselves and this, that, and the other. It looks great, but it's like humanity has a success equation, right? And you have to consider all of these pillars of fulfillment. So you were scoring kind of really low then. You just explained it was really dark. So what you perceived to be success, what you were chasing fulfillment, wasn't the success equation for you, right?
100%. That's what I thought it was going to be. And that was what I was going to touch on then. So this is just to clarify, this is probably about 2 years before I got into bodybuilding, right? But it's all tied together, because after bodybuilding then I used to struggle with binge eating and all those kind of things, right? Because I was trying not to party as much, but I still I still was trying to fill a void, right? So basically my mum said to me this one time, I messaged her and I said, look, I'm looking in the mirror, mum, and I don't even recognize myself anymore, and kind of brought the tears. I remember there's one time, I think it was 18 months in, just as I started having a turning point. I was in having a coffee with my mum and sister, and they both just started crying. They were they were like, just, it got to the point where it was just like, we can't help you anymore. You know what I mean? You've got to that point, and not that we can't help you, we're there for you, but there's nothing we can do. Yeah. And that was when I said to you before, I was on the verge of taking antidepressants, and I'm not going to say no one should take antidepressants for, a small select handful of people, or, certain people need them or whatever. But generally for me, that I don't think that would have been the right decision. And I didn't. But then it was after that, then I started getting, and that was because of the tribe at the time that I developed. I actually managed to come out with that, but I didn't realize at the time. I started eating better, started getting a bit more knowledge about nutrition, those kind of things. And then I met a bunch of guys, and they became my close friends. A lot of them are to this day. But if it wasn't for that, not taking myself too seriously and stuff. And the interesting thing is there was a lot of stigma attached with it. There still is a lot, too much attached to mental health with men, right? But back then, if you remember, even this is like, 12, 13 years ago, I didn't even talk about it to my friends. It was just being around, it's like in the UK humor, taking the piss out of each other, not taking yourself too seriously. It just, those interactions, man, with people in general is so important. So no, I was fortunate, man.
No, 100%, and I'm really glad you found a tribe, because I think that social connections is huge for men. And going back to the hunter gatherers and stuff, we were tribes people, right? Running around with spears and probably having a laugh as we were doing it together, and we've kind of lost that within society. So if we go back to present day now, so really interesting, you score 4 health and fitness, 4 internal work, 4 love and relationships, 2 social connections, 4 work and life flow. So that would be 18 out of 20. Now, that's not to say those scores, because it's not set and forget. Any given day they can drop back, but it's about checking yourself. Where am I? What's happened? And you just touched on when you were away, for example, you kind of had a couple of things going on that made you look and go, okay, what am I missing here? And I do that regularly myself. When I came back from Mykonos, I was speaking about it recently, where I came back and I felt a bit flat. And it was because I was out of sync, I was out of routine and stuff. So I had to check my own rating and say, what have I missing? I haven't played volleyball this week. I haven't done my meditation. I haven't done this. So you just kind of work through them. Next minute, your endorphins release. You feel, because humans, we need to do stuff. We need to feel productive. We need to achieve things. And when you do that, all of a sudden you start, lighten the mood. I was speaking to you about yesterday. I was speaking to my missus last night. It's like, I think it was 8 o'clock at night, and she knew I'd been up since 3:30 in the morning because I couldn't sleep. So I've got a lot on at the moment with regards to the business and this movement that we're creating. So I'm up and at 'em. And I'd done that. I'd had a meeting. I'd been in the shops. I needed to go and see the bank about something. And then I had another call at 7 o'clock. And then I actually cooked some nice steaks. And it was 8 o'clock. She's tired and stuff. And I'm still going like this. And it's because I was energized, because I was doing things. Now, if I wouldn't have been doing those things, I'd be fucking like this, at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, 6 o'clock in the evening, wanting to kip. So as men, we really need that. So I think your story there is kind of really powerful, and it shows that what people chase as fulfillment isn't always fulfillment.
100%. Let me touch on that quickly as well, just a bit of context for the audience. So after all that, then I got into bodybuilding, right? So still partying, doing all that stuff. And when I got to 25, I then decided, right, I want to be on Men's Health. That was my goal.
Nice.
On the cover of Men's Health. And they just started doing men's physique, right? This where they wear the board shorts and those kind of things. I thought, right, let's give it a go. Because I was in great shape, right? And again, from the outside in, oh my God, he's got everything, right? But internally, no, not the case. So started competing. And that was when I look back, it was all for, external validation, right? Why do I want to build up an Instagram following? I didn't have any reason back then. It's just because I wanted attention, right? I wanted attention. I wanted the external validation. I wanted me to feel, significance, right? We're all chasing that. But ultimately, the deep work and true happiness, contentment, fulfillment, whatever you want to call it, it comes from within. 100%. And this is something, as you know, this year in particular, I've kind of gone deeper on that.
No, I love that. And so going back to your brain, what you're basically talking about there is, fulfillment is basically getting to your authentic self. Your authentic self, I think, as children, as we get programmed. I say it all the time, we're a ball of love. We come out, of the womb, bang. All we know is we're just this ball of love, right? And then we get programmed. Don't do that. Do this. This is good for you. This isn't good for you. We go through school. It's the same. Work the same. We're programmed in this certain way. But our authentic self actually is usually not that program, right? And it's about how do we read that program and get back to ourselves. And that's what true fulfillment is. And these ratings and how we operate, it helps people to kind of see that. And I think you attended at one of our workshops not so long ago. And I was interested to hear, did you get any aha moments out of that workshop? Obviously, you did this rating. How did that feel for you? Did it give you any kind of, that makes sense? And did you have any aha moments on the day?
It was interesting you say that, right? Because Janine and I were talking about the therapy thing. I had some therapy back then when I was going through those struggles, and I've had a lot of therapy and stuff. But I feel as men, some men need therapy. Everyone's different. I think most people can benefit from it. But, I think the research shows that, women tend to benefit a lot more from having like a therapist, right? I think men can benefit too. But I feel like just that workshop within itself, just being asked the right questions. That's all it is. So when you've got this framework, this good men framework, and you get asked the right questions and you feel comfortable in the right setting, obviously where we were in Kiss My Axe. So long story short, I come up with this thing where it was like I have this belief built into me. My mum didn't mean nothing by this, but obviously didn't have a dad around, like I said, right? Had no one to show me. My mum used to do everything for me, right? So hands-on stuff. I wasn't the best, right? Let's just say that. That's just like that's objective, right? Not objective. That's objective. Like I just wasn't a handyman, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't do the reps, right? I did the reps in the gym, and my mum always.
I must admit, I'm not the best.
You're not the best.
My missus,
you're a lot better.
My missus would confirm it.
Yeah, really.
DI don't.
DIY means don't involve yourself to me, mate. Do you know what I mean? That's what it's always meant to me. So yeah. Anyway, so my mum used to say to me, "Oh, you're terrible with your hands, Matt. You're crap with your hands." And my dad as well. My dad was the same. Apparently, he put some wallpaper up in the house before and put it the wrong way around. And she was like, your dad was the same. And my mates used to like rip into me and stuff as you do in the UK. But I think I internalized that. And so now, even to this day, now I had that awareness just from talking to him. And I was like, yeah, I got this thing where whenever I got to do anything, it could be something so simple, bro. Like literally changing a light bulb, for example, even easier than that. I'll get a bit of anxiety and I'm like, what if I get this wrong? God forbid if someone's watching me, like Janine or something.
Oh, wow.
And Janini's an engineer as well, right? So she is hands-on, you know what I'm saying? So I was getting this and I'm like, where is that coming from? It's because I've cemented in that belief into my subconscious mind that I'm terrible with my hands. And then obviously I'm judging myself on that internally. Yeah.
Wow, so you got that out of a conversation.
Got out of a conversation. So now it's like if I got to do anything, and it might sound silly to some people, right? But if I got to do something now I'm like, oh, okay, now I know where that's coming from.
Yeah.
And my mum had the best intentions. She just has like a dry humor, just joking around. But obviously I've taken that internally, like I'm not good at this. And as a man, I guess it's a masculine thing, whatever you want to call it, like the handyman, like men, society, I guess, tells us that we should be capable with those kind of things, right? So it's all all those things. And yeah, it's just having that awareness. There was other things as well we could talk about, but yeah, it'll be here all day. But man, and there was Janini as well. I think she had a light bulb moment as well. So I think just getting asked the right questions, man, and being in a comfortable setting and going back to what we said, having the right people around you. We all know this, and everyone knows this, but they kind of tend to surround themselves with assholes, you know? You know what I'm saying?
100%.
We've all been through that, haven't we?
No, 100%. And I think as you evolve, one of the biggest things is you have to accept that there's going to be a transition from one collection of friends, usually to another. Some might come with you, and it's not that anybody's any different, but you're on different paths, you're on different journeys. So sometimes that kind of vibration of the people interacting has to change. And sometimes you can have that loneliness curve, right? That before, as you transition through there. But I think it's perfectly natural. It's almost exciting because when you I always say to people, if you're feeling that, you're on the cusp, you're on 100%. The move, you know. So anyway, you've just come back from holiday. You know, I was speaking to you when you're over there. Some big stuff, as we say. I've just congratulated you. You got engaged to beautiful Giannini. I think that's amazing, and myself and Katya are very happy for you. But I came back from even just 10 days from Mykonos, and I've got a lot going on. I had some real kind of, you know, epiphanies, kind of life, kind of almost changing thoughts going through my head about how I view holidays, but how I view my life. And I'm interested on, number one, because I know you mentioned some similar stuff to me. What did you get out of the holiday? Because you're completely out of routine for 5 or 6 weeks. That in itself, for people like us, you know, it can be tough. So I'm interested in that, and then I'm interested to hear about your engagement as well.
Yeah, awesome, man. So I think it was about 5.5 weeks I was away. Just to clarify, I was back in the UK, so I was in more of a routine then, but still not a good routine, right? Obviously, staying in my mother's house is not the same, right? You haven't got my comfortable bed. You know what I'm saying? All those things that we rely on, right? The important things for your health, like, you know, good quality sleep and having a gym across the road from me where I live now. So all those things throw out your routine a bit. But I had more routine there. I was still working and stuff. But then when we traveled around Europe for about just over 3 weeks, that was another story, man. And yeah, we did a lot of kind of city hopping and stuff like that. And cut a long story short, man, constantly moving from place to place. Obviously, we couldn't cook our own meals all the time. We tried our best to control that, but obviously there's only so much control you've got. You're eating out more, all those kind of things, which, you know, they're kind of normal to most people, which is fine. But when you get to that level with your health and fitness, right, as you know, and you're tuned in with your body and you feel good most of the time, you start feeling not as good, right? Long story short. Yep. So yeah, and you know, I had a little bit of alcohol and stuff, didn't drink much, but yeah, so all in all, what I got from that was you know, like, structure and routine is key, first and foremost. I think that's a foundation. Everyone needs to have some sort of rhythm with their life, right? With their habits and, you know, like a bedtime routine, these kind of things, like they're essential. And then, but also it was just the internal stuff that we talked about, right? So when I obviously proposed to Giannini in the Amalfi Coast, and after I did that, you know, I was trying to hide it from her from the whole trip, right? And I was like, obviously had the ring and stuff like that, so I was like trying to plan. So I think it was at the back of my mind for the whole trip. So it was like this, it's kind of like a little bit of stress, right? Because you're like thinking, I want to get this right, blah, blah, blah. Then you're traveling around, all the kind of stuff I mentioned.
You know what made me laugh? When you sent me the video footage, I'm like, how have you seconded somebody to film your thing?
I got some random person to film it as well.
You almost told her off, didn't you?
I know.
Make sure she doesn't see.
Exactly, but you can see the anxiety of that video.
I was like, typical Martin. Yeah, you were panicking a bit there.
100%, mate. It was really interesting because I was going to do it the whole formal way, you know, propose to her, where it's like, you know, get a nice restaurant. I actually had it all lined up. I was going to get a professional video. And then I just thought, you know what? I woke up the next day. I had a good sleep and stuff. And I woke up and we got one of those mopeds just to ride down the coast. Beautiful day. I thought, that's actually perfect because you definitely won't expect it then. You know what I mean? And she didn't, I think, expect it at that moment. She had it at the back of her mind, I was going to do it at some point, you know what I mean? But anyway, long story short, all the build-up, proposed to her, you know, got her just after that video, right? So obviously, boom, all went really well, literally straight after, and we had a bit of I think it triggered off some trauma in her when I told her afterwards that I just felt empty afterwards, right? So I did it. When I say empty, I was like exhilarated and I was like over the moon that I'd done it and amazing and popped the question. She said, yes, right? I was buzzing. But then I remember looking over this beautiful, most picturesque in Ravello, if anyone knows that, in Amalfi, literally the most beautiful views ever. And I'm there with my fiance, the woman of my dreams, right? And I'm just stood there looking out and I'm like, man, like, what am I supposed to be feeling right now? You know, so you can see how people get to that point where they're not running away from themselves, but you're not, I wasn't taking care of myself. So I wasn't getting, when I look back now, I wasn't getting out in nature. I need time on my own. So as much as I'm an extrovert, I need time alone to recharge. That's just me. And I think a lot of people need that. I didn't have any time alone on this whole trip. And the only 2 points I had time alone, right? you probably heard from me both times, right? The one time we got to Amsterdam, right? So we'd been in the UK, and as soon as we got to our first little trip outside of the UK, we start our Europe trip, boom. First day, we weren't connecting well. You know, the love and relationships pillar, we weren't taken care of because I was grinding, trying to get the work done. She was doing bits and bobs, and we weren't really connecting and focused on the relationship, right? So then we had boom, got to Amsterdam. We went our separate ways for 3-4 hours. And it was that 1 hour sat in Vondel Park, luckily, lovely day, right? Thankfully, October in Amsterdam. And I'm sat there, I think this was before I messaged you, and I just had an hour and a half just doing breath work, sun on my face, being present, and just realizing, wow, I've had no time alone. I've had no nature, sat in a beautiful park. 1 hour later, guess what? Felt great, felt like a new man. And the same thing happened then as well. It was on the move. You know, we're on holiday. I work online, right? So I was still doing bits and bobs of work and stuff. And as I say, I wasn't feeling at my best. I wasn't sleeping as well. You know, I was having a few drinks. So I wasn't at my usual best anyway. And then on top of that, obviously the whole build up to the proposal. And then, boom, we did it. And then afterwards, then I said to her, you know, looking back, I probably could have just slept first before, because it's the word choice and everything else, right? And she took it as my emotions were empty. My tank was empty because I wasn't feeding my soul.
But it's good because I know you're very honest, and you just kind of, you know, it's probably good and bad for Jeannie in a relationship with it. There's no filter. She'll just say it as it is and you'll blurt it out. But I think that's, rather than people bullshitting and playing games, I think that's a lot more easy for somebody to deal with on either party. But it got me interested in what you were describing there, because when you were telling me when you were away, I thought this is a really good point, because people go on holidays. UK is especially, just because, you know, I'm from the UK. You know, you'd be saying, I'm going on holiday. You'd be looking forward to that 2 weeks of the year. We're going to the sun for 50 weeks of the year. You're looking forward to that too. So, and then you would come back, and I joke, and you kind of get the passport scenario where you hand your passports, you know, you hand your passports into the Spanish kind of passport control, and you go, there you go. You know, can you give me my cough and my 3 months of depression, please? It's like an exchange. There's my passport. Hit me with the pain. 100%. And then you go back, and you're down, you're ill, you've completely depleted yourself because you've got arsehole for 2 weeks. But then there's it's not just obviously there, it's everywhere. It's I think people distract themselves from general what fulfillment is. And I was thinking to myself, are holidays tricking us out of fulfillment? Because you're kind of looking over there, and I did it recently. I live in Coogee Beach. I love where I live. It's beautiful. As I say, we go and play, you know, I go to the gym. I can have a swim afterwards. I can play volleyball there. I work. I pop out on my lunch, whatever. It's fucking great. But even as soon as I decided I was going to Mykonos, I'm like, my mindset shift, and I go, can't wait to go to Europe. The difference of Europe, the culture, the this, the beaches, the this.
Kicks in.
And I'm looking over there, forgetting where I am here, and I'm starting focusing on this. And I was doing that for 6 weeks. Then I go to there. I go to Mykonos, and I'm there. And after a couple of days of excitement, new area, because all your environment is, it quickly becomes the place where you lay your head. So I've got this great villa, flew my mum and dad in there, great. But then very quickly I'm like, hang on a minute. You know, this is just the same. And then I start drifting. Can't wait to get back to Coogee. Do you know what I mean? So I'm kind of tricking myself away. And then I had to I said, hang on a minute. Give yourself a slap. Be present. And just had to relax. What didn't help me, very similar to yourself, is I was completely out of sync. You know, and it's not just about, you know, going to the gym, but I do train, and I like to train most days. The gym was 15 minutes away. I had to drive to the gym, drive back, and put that into the day. Obviously, eating is tough. You go and eat out, and with my parents, I don't want to be too restrictive for them, so you let it loose a little bit here. There's a couple of days there I haven't drank for many months, but I broke that when I was there. I could see my dad wanted a buddy. My dad's, I think I mentioned to you, my dad's, you know, he's slowing down a bit cognitively. I also think that's because he's not energized as much by being around people, because I seen him in 7 days go from this to this, because, you know, I was revving him up every day. We took him to a day club. We'd enter that day club. There was a band on. There was people dancing. And I decided, I thought, you know, he needs a drinking buddy. So I had a couple of beers with him and stuff. Broke my thing, but it was a beautiful day, right?
It's well worth breaking it for. That's what it's all about, because that is what you remember. You care less about the alcohol. That connection and that moment with your dad. Like life, we don't know what's around the corner, man. So 100%. I'm so glad you did that.
100%. And what you're saying there is when that ring moment, because what you're doing is, as humans, you're thinking, you're looking at this thing and thinking, this is going to be it. I'm going to bring all this happiness. And then you trick yourself because you're going, you're happy all the way along. It's just you give that thing. That's not going to make you fucking happier. It's just the exchange of. It's beautiful. You've done something really nice for your partner and for you guys for moving forward. But what we've got to realize, our authentic self hasn't fucking changed. We just got to understand this. And a lot of people think of that moment's going to create this next wave of great stuff. But it's not, and nothing's set and forget. It's understanding that we've almost got to try and remain a little bit more like this. We're always going to have our ups and downs, but we don't expect something to go there and stay there. And I think we trick ourselves.
And that's what you said, is expectations as well, right? Because you get your dopamine, because you have there's different stuff going on in the brain. I'm not an expert here, right? But you got the here and now chemicals in the brain, like you mentioned, endorphins, serotonin, oxytocin, those kind of things. They're the here and now. You have to be pretty much in the present to have those hormones working in the brain, whereas dopamine is like chasing. So you have expectations, and we always set expectations. The reality is it's always going to come back to one thing, you, right? So when I travel back to when I came to Australia, this is something I'll touch on as well, right? Obviously, I told you about all that stuff, blah, 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 did the bodybuilding, came out of that, and I went to Australia when I was 29, and when I came here, I had more struggles because, again, I was in a different environment. Part of me was kind of running away from a certain, and it was the best thing I ever did, right? But it took some adapting too, because again, like obviously you, one or two others really, you're the only really, if I'm honest, like really close friend that I've got here, you know what I mean? Like I've got friends and stuff, but I mean, we're talking about like what we said earlier, right? Like someone you can call on in a crisis, man. And, full transparency, man. I said this to you, off air. I love saying that. Right? Joe Rogan says it a lot off air. But, man, like just being there for me and stuff. I've got you. I've got, one other man. I've got close mates back home and stuff. They got families and stuff like that now. And it's like, it's not the same, right? In terms of like the stuff you'll share. And you don't want to put too much weight on them. So it's like you and my other mates. And like, if you haven't got like one or two people to turn to in times of crisis, man, like, it becomes problematic.
100%. And
I got to backpedal here though, so you can continue just because Janini's going to listen back to this, right? So I can't finish it there, right? Let me wrap up the story.
You were talking about men there, so I know Janini's within there.
Nah.
So just going back to this, you got engaged, right? You had that moment that then obviously would have affected your partner because, everything's kind of getting confused because what you're then doing is the program gets activated because what we are, as I said before, going back to originally who we are, our authentic self is programmed. And again, you get all this shit going around in your head that's not yourself, right? It's assumptions and this, that, and the other that kind of come through. How did you navigate that with Janini? Because I know that would have affected him.
Oh, absolutely, man. So first and foremost, I'm happy to be honest about this. Janini, I've already checked it with her, right? So it's all good. The coast is clear. As you know, right, with Janini, 2 years ago we got together. After 3 months, obviously, I have a bit of the avoidant attachment. That you've heard of attachment theory. You've got the 3 different types of attachment, right? Avoidant attachment used to be my thing. Now more towards secure attachment. I've worked on it. But basically, I was with her for 3 months and then, finished with her right out of the blue because I panicked. I was like, oh no, commitment, blah, blah, blah. And then after about a week then of fighting tooth and nail to get her back, luckily I got her back and realized I made a massive mistake within a day or two. And it was just kind of like a fear response. I don't know where it's coming from. It could have went back to childhood or whatever. But long story short, so what happened was then that night, it's a lesson, not what I should have done because everything happens for you, not to you, right? But I should have just slept on it, right? I was burnt out. If I had just went to sleep, we had a great day and stuff, it would have been different the next day. I would have woke up probably a bit recharged. But this all happened for a reason, and it was great because then what happened the next day, right? The same thing happened in Amsterdam. So we just got engaged, told her the night, I felt a bit empty afterwards. What I was trying to communicate is like the tank was empty. I just need to rejuvenate some nature, some time alone, which probably would a bit weird timing for that, right? But again, we didn't have any of that. And it would have been fine if I just communicated the next day. But anyway, because of that, it triggered off the trauma, right, that she had so she was taking the messages, oh no, so he's pulling away from the commitment again, basically, right? Yeah. So understandable, right? And then, but the next day, anyway, we had a chat, 3 hours on my own, went out into nature. And again, like, it's like when people wait till they get diabetes until they try and get in shape, I did the same thing almost with the breath work, right? Not doing the regular breath work, not being out in nature, man. Like you say about volleyball, going for a swim, those kind of things we take for granted because we live here. You need those. It's like it's the most important thing. It's like brushing your teeth. For us going to the gym, it's like you just do it, don't you?
Yeah.
The nature thing, I've still got to be really conscious about factoring that in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
mate, it gives you the juice, doesn't it? It really it
calms you down, doesn't it? You feel like connected again. Like I said to you,
it's unreal. Well, sometimes you do. I went with. I'll tell you the story. On Monday, I went with Stevie, a good friend of ours, who's part of the Good Men kind of framework, and he'd celebrated going through this. He was 6 months sober, right? And that's
awesome. 6 months now,
6 months, and he was heavy drinking. He was on our first podcast. So he said, "Look, I'm going camping." And he actually said to me, "Look, you've been a big part of me doing this. Do you want to pop over?" So I said, "Yeah, all right." So I said, "I'll go over on the Monday." You know me, I do love nature, but I haven't really camped in years since I was, in school or with the parents. And he says to me, "I've got this swag." And I said, "Oh, great, what's a swag?" He sends me a picture. I've got no idea the dimensions of it. So I rock up. He's got his van that he's got kitted out. He spends about 40 getting it all beautifully done, because the money he would have spent drinking and stuff now he's actually invested in getting out into nature. He's got himself a van.
His dog with him,
a dog there. Yeah. He turns out sweet as a nut. I look on the floor and there's this fucking coffin on the floor. I'm like, what's that? I mean, like, I'm 6'4", and I went, "Mate," and I was trying to play it cool. So,
I can imagine your face, like when he gets in the ice bath, he pulls his funny face for the audience, where he's just like,
yeah, I'm like, "Am I sleeping in that?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, okay. I got in there, mate, and this is like, it goes dark, out in the wilderness. I got in, and I was like this. My face is this far from this thing. I couldn't move, and I zipped it up, and I was like, "Oh, claustrophobic." I had to get out. Anyway, I ended up sleeping in the car. It was terrifying. So it was beautiful being there.
Yeah.
Waking
but you
up
took it a bit too far.
Waking up in the morning,
you literally buried yourself in the ground.
I think he was taking the piss. He got me an extra small swag. But I was looking like this in a coffin.
So
anyway,
even nature you can take too far.
Exactly, but nature, look, it is beautiful. Going back to that relationships bit, and I know sometimes between you and Janina, like most relationships, when something happens, I always describe it, if somebody kind of almost, what I always say is, even in a relationship, if somebody wins an argument, the relationship loses because somebody loses, then there's an imbalance, right? And sometimes that happens too many times. It's unrecoverable because somebody thinks they're winning, but you're not winning because you're winning against the person you fucking love, right? So it's about understand. I think that's a real powerful comment to understand. If somebody in a relationship loses, the relationship loses. And kind of what I mean by that is, people don't realize they do. I think their authentic self realizes they do. And I've made that analogy to you. If somebody steps into a conversation, say you're having an argument with your partner, and you go, "You're right, I'm really sorry about that. I effed up, whatever." What people can then do is they almost then have the moral high ground because you've kind of submitted and you kind of say, "I'm wrong." Now, people who maybe aren't as evolved or don't understand what's happening, they can kind of go, take the high road. And I always say they'll put you on the suffering leash and walk you around the pain pack for a period of time, right? They'll go quiet, make you suffer, and they're just walking you around. So you're taking the person you love through pain for hours, days, sometimes weeks. And who wins? Nobody wins. You think you win. Who you win against? The person you fucking love.
Exactly.
And what happens to the relationship? The relationship suffers. So if one wins, relationship loses. And once people get that in their mind, it's like, hang on a minute, it can reframe stuff. The key to these things is getting rid of all the shit, because a lot of it, as I say, is the program, it's the cloud, it's the fog, it's not our true authentic self. What's actually going on here? And trying to communicate with truth and honesty and authenticity, and trying to then listen to each other and go, okay, how can we now improve from this, right? And I think that's what I'm trying to get better at, and I know you're trying to get better at. But it's once you become aware of that, it's not just about helping ourselves, but we help our partners as well. Because by doing that, the relationship can win, right? It can blossom.
100%.
Is that a kind of something that
100%. And you know, it's so crazy that I was actually like, I was worried, man. I'm not going to lie. After that happened, I was like, oh, man, have I been running away from myself? Am I actually, like, what's going on here? I didn't know what was going on. Then slept the next day, boom, went out in nature, like I said, breath work for an hour, no distractions, not going on my phone, went for a swim, right? Clear my mind, clear my thoughts, felt calm. Whatever happened emotionally inside me then was just like a transformation, basically, right? Because it was a need for my body. Went back to Giannini, felt great, sat her on my lap, looked her in the eyes, and I was just like, everything's great. Yeah, spoke the truth, and I was like, everything's great. Everything's, everything's great now. And then we took off there, and we really enjoyed the moment and everything there, man. But you just got to be aware of these things, right? You got to be aware of what's going on internally.
Yeah, and that brought me to it. I've got a big belief, and I wrote it down here as part of the notes for this with you today. I think, people talk about the spiritual journey, whatever you want to call it, the growth journey, as you improve as a human being, whatever you do. I think the key to the game is, I think as children, as I said before, we're born, we get programmed. We have from an early age, we've got no choice other than to get programmed. So whatever kind of gets thrown at us, sometimes it can be like a computer virus. It's not a good program, right? So we kind of get built up, and then as we kind of come to teenage years and grow into our adulthood, we start becoming aware. And then there's almost something that starts coming through you. Your authentic self starts going, hang on a minute, this isn't right. Something's not feeling. And I almost feel like humanity, it's a game. And it's almost like you get fucking programmed, and your game is to deprogram by the end. And how do you do that? And I call it which is what this bloody framework book questions are. It's about regularly asking yourself and checking yourself. And almost, I feel it's like a vice, like a vice in woodwork. The woodwork that we're great at with our hands. Yeah. So, like a vice. And you just kind of go, and you're coming back to your authentic self, and you're getting rid of the shit. And I feel like that's what the game is. And I've got a really beautiful book here, The 4 Agreements. I think it's a really simplistic book, and I think it's like a framework of what being a good human is. And I genuinely believe if something like this, simple as this, a book like this, or a book like our workbook, was taught in school at a young age when people can read it, 4, 5, whatever, and it was something like this was touched on, I genuinely believe there would be such a massive impact, immeasurable impact to humanity and to people. It would reduce loneliness, it would reduce problems in relationships, ultimately reduce suicidality, which obviously what we're ultimately wanting to do. But if you look at it, there's kind of 4 agreements that they have. They kind of say, be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. So just thoughts for here, because it ties into this relationship discussion. Don't make assumptions. So find the courage to ask questions, to express what you really want. Communicate with others as clearly so you can avoid misunderstandings, such as sadness and drama. With just this one agreement, you can completely transform your life. So don't make assumptions. But how hard is that?
It's hard.
How hard is it?
And don't take it personally as well. They're those, like, obviously being a man of your word. What is it? Be impeccable to your word.
Yeah.
That's still not easy, right? But it's a lot easier, I find. And then obviously the other one, do your best. I find that a lot easier. But yeah, assumptions, man, because we think that people are going to understand us, right? Without us actually communicating exactly what boundaries we have in certain things, right? So we have expectations without communicating. And I think Chris Williamson said this, right? Unmet expectations is like premeditated resentment or something like that, right? And then you start building up resentment. As soon as that resentment builds up, that's when it's dark. That's when it becomes a problem.
That's absolutely key, because the assumption is, I've worked in business and I've had business relationships with people and had different views on things maybe, and I'm looking at them saying they don't communicate, and I'm throwing all of the problem that way. But then when you sit back and you go, have I communicated properly myself? Did they really? Just because I understand that in my head, I might talk like this, that might not land for that person. So I'm making an assumption and pushing more problem onto this person. And again, just like any relationship, the relationship doesn't win, the business relationship doesn't win. The ultimate goal of being happy or being fulfilled or achieving success in business isn't going to win, because you're just sitting in this assumption going, I know best, they're wrong. You know what I mean? So I think, and what wins the day with it not making assumptions? It's speaking the truth and connecting with truth, because there's only the truth. There's only the truth of every matter. But how do you get to that? Get rid of assumptions and all the bullshit and have a calm. So I think communication is absolutely key. Remove 100%. Emotions. Remove the fluff and go, what is this person trying to tell me? And fucking listen.
Listen. That's what I was going to say next. I think that's the most important piece, man.
Listen because when you listen, if you make an assumption, you're going to tie a meaning to that. But that's your meaning. You want to look at that person and say, no.
Understand. Listen to understand.
Let's understand really what you're saying. Let get rid of me bullshit. And that's going to help us now try and resolve this or improve whatever it is.
Is that something where one of my mentors, one of the best things he taught me, right, about coaching, but anything, right, communication in general, is listen to understand, right? Because we always listen. A lot of the times we always do it, right? But just being aware this is a game changer. We listen to respond. So imagine your partner, you're having a conversation, right? If you listen to what her needs are, right, or his
I'm
needs
doing it
are,
right now.
Yeah, I know. Now we're going to just be staring at each other too much. We're going to lose the flow. You listen to that person and what their needs are, right, without just thinking about responding, because we're governed by self-interest. We can't help that. Humans is survival. We think about ourselves. We're selfish, right? It helps us survive. So to actually, it's all about being present. It goes back to what we said, man. I'm telling you, breath work. This is something I'm going to hold myself accountable to. I need to do this more. I need to ramp that up more. And definitely just being present, being able to breathe in those moments and just listen to what that person needs. And also another, just wanted to share something. I'm not like a relationship expert, but this simple thing as well. When you have conflict, right, which is inevitable, right, in relationships. Now you can get less conflict, right, if you have these conversations and stuff, and maybe check in once a week about something that you're doing well. And this is something, again, I'm going to call out that I'm going to try with Janini this weekend. Rather than sitting down, we were doing the check-ins and stuff. We haven't done them for ages, right? So I'm just going to go for a walk. I'm going to allocate that in, go for a walk with Janini once a week, a simple walk, and just talk about one thing that I can improve on. You tell me one thing that I could do better, right, based on this last week, and then finish it off with 3 things I've done well, right? Because obviously you've got to encourage each other and support each other, and you don't want to make each other. So those simple things, I think, go a really long way, and just being able to understand each other and listen to. Well, that's it. That's what I was going to say. One more thing is, what can I do to make you feel better, right? It's a powerful thing, and it's been helping a lot. It's a simple thing because we get into a bit of back and forth. The ego might kick in or whatever, and then as you say, then you share your what is it you say? Poison,
pass poison,
poison back and forth. But
yeah,
instead of that, it's like,
just
okay,
poison each other, poison the relationship.
Exactly. I'm really sorry, but what can I do to make you feel better, right? And it doesn't always work, right? Half the time, though, they'll actually actually, it's X, Y, and Z.
Stop being an idiot.
Yeah, stop being a dickhead. That'll start, you know what I mean? But they can then we can both express ourselves better than if you just ask the person, how can I make you feel better, No,
that's beautiful. And you touched on Chris Williamson. There was something, he had a guy on called Richard Reeves, and there was a really good podcast just recently. And going back to purely...
Listen to it. Great.
Yeah, from a men perspective.
Man, the teenage thing, that was really... Mate, I was listening to that on the plane, actually, coming here, man. That was really...
There's so many
emotional listening to that.
There's so much powerful stuff, and that's why I believe, at the moment, I said it before, I'll continue to say I am obsessed with reducing suicidality, the loneliness epidemic, and helping men and women become more fulfilled. And I think there's a simplistic equation. And I think there's so much going on. I've said it time and time again. At the moment, it's too overcomplicated for people to run down this expert's pathway because it's so deep, right? I think there's a holistic view that we can help. And it's what we've got to do as a society is realize how important this is now. It's got to be front and center because the death rates are fucking phenomenal. And there was something in here. He said that men feeling unneeded and unvalued is almost fatal. And I was like, fuck, that sounds like a disease. Just that simple thing. How powerful is that? Being unneeded and unvalued is almost fatal. And again, on another one of his podcasts, he was talking about today in the US, there's 500,000, 500,000 less men than there would have been if the rates of suicide wouldn't have increased because of all this that's happening. I'm thinking 500,000 less men. Number one, fucking unbelievable is that for humanity that 500,000 men less are killing themselves, not through cancer, not through this. They're taking their own lives in this beautiful creation that we have around us. So that's fucking phenomenal. What's that doing to the economy? What's that doing to society as a whole? We're already got
Families.
problems. We've got problems left, right, and centre. So I just find that absolutely baffling that that's the number. That those numbers are happening in society today, and we haven't got a real kind of some simple things that as governments and society that we're trying to do to counteract. It's almost like loads of people are trying different, things because people like myself are getting really passionate about it. But I genuinely believe there's some simplistic stuff. And from the research that I'm doing and the people I'm working with, just kind of what you were going on to previously, you were talking about, social connections. Lucky you might have had you found a little tribe there that might have helped you off the high risk step because your rating was really low. You were getting depressed. You were considering stuff. So, some people, if they don't have that safety pillar, if you look at that, if they've got nowhere do they go? That's when people end it.
100%. This is what I wanted to talk about, right? When I was away and I had a few moments, right? I had that one moment after the engagement thing, right, where I was trying to figure out what's just happened here. You know what I'm saying? Like you hear about this all the time. Like you live in the dream, and you can see from the outside in, right? On my Instagram, and I am. Don't get me wrong, I am. But I had a moment where I was like, man, until I recharged for that one, literally 2 hours, man. I'm telling you now, and again, it's the simple framework that you guys talk about, right? And it's really not complicated. Like I know now, social connections, that's my weakest area. You don't have to do loads. You just got to look at like which area do I need to improve on the most, and then start there. Take one step in that direction. But I remember thinking, I want to say this, right? I understood why men do it. Right? I remember thinking, if I didn't have the friends like yourself, my mate Bondi, my family, obviously Giannini, and I didn't have the my health and fitness, which I now take for granted because it's part of us, right? It's just what we do, like brushing our teeth. And I didn't have the awareness to know that I just needed nature and breathwork, and I knew I would feel better. I didn't know I was going to fix it at the time. That was a worrying thing. But I was like, I know you're missing this, so let's do this because your soul needs it. Your soul's missing it. But I remember thinking, I totally understand why men do it in these moments. Do you understand?
I fucking do. And how powerful is that? You were in that point, you understand. But you were just touching on it because I know we've been doing that work recently. You were going, this.
Yes.
Now imagine if because you're self-aware and going on the growth journey.
It was from the workshop as well, man.
And from the workshop, you now understood. Hang on a minute. Let's have a look at my score. Let's have a look. I'll go here. You do that, you feel better, right?
100%.
And that's what I'm talking about. There's a simplistic equation that can help humanity right now, en masse, on scale. And and if you look at, men feeling unneeded, undervalued, where are the key areas you can get that from? So people just say that. We'll say that on a podcast, say it's undervalued. What's the solution? Well, where does the solution come from? In there, feeling undervalued, a lot of it's going to come from love and relationships and social connections, because in there you're going to feel it. Where can life flow in work? Yes, you can feel, you're valued, but where do you want it really? You want it from a love. You want it from a proper relationship. You want it to be true, one authentic soul to another, proper love. I mean, that's true. That's when you're going to feel needed, right? And you've got purpose and society where, we touched on it before, provider, hunter-gatherer type scenario. With society changing for the better, great. But don't think men have managed to catch up to, well, I'm not the provider anymore, so what's my value? And when men don't feel valued and completely unneeded in society, they're killing themselves at an unprecedented rate. But if we have these simple things to check in with, then it's going to reduce. It's going to help.
120%.
It can't not help.
No, it will 100%. And it's having some, again, like you say on podcasts, there's so many good podcasts out there talking about it and stuff, right? But as you say, like, action needs to be taken. You know what I'm saying? And to take action when you're in a hole like that, and I just talked about this. When you're in that place, I did not see a way out when I was in that position. I did not see a way out. My mum said to me one time, you'll get through this and you'll look back on it and you'll laugh, or you'll look back and go, wow, I'm so glad I got through that. It will I didn't believe it though. My mum was saying that and I was like, yeah, true. Inside, didn't believe it. Because I didn't have the pillars covered, right? The internal, all the scores are there to show it. The proof's in the pudding.
Mate,
so
100%, and I've seen it time and time again that it doesn't need to be this way. I think there's a fucking simple equation there, and just like yourself, I've been digesting these podcasts, and I just can't believe there hasn't been a solution. So
the teenagers, man, that's the one that got me. 15 to 30-year-olds. It's gone up by like a third more men in between the age of 15 and 30 since 2010 are killing themselves. Like, think of that on a mass scale, how many men that is. Young men. Their life hasn't even started yet.
I know. And then there's the people who take the lies, but there's the people who are just unhappy, depressed, shit. So the majority of humanity is walking through, clouded by this thing that isn't themselves. They're not truly enjoying the world as they should. So I think, the work that we're doing, and I'd like to kind of, is there anything else you'd like to bring up before I kind of wrap up?
Nah, man, I was just thinking then, so pretty much touch on everything I wanted to talk about there, but I wanted to just touch on then, exactly, and like what I help people with, as you know, right, nutrition, mainly nutrition, training, lifestyle. I help people, basically ambitious people get into great shape, right, and generally like high achieving people, and just from that one pillar, right? So there's a couple of pillars which we cover there. Of course, we cover the health and fitness. We cover some of the internal stuff as well. And just those two things there, right? When you fill those two buckets up, right? I'm telling you now, man, like they're different people, man. They've reinvented themselves.
It's all interconnected. It's all interconnected. It's like if you're struggling like shit in work and you've got a nightmare of a boss, you're doing all these hours. I'm watching my missus now. So my missus is in corporate, high-flying job, working a million hours, stressed to death, not getting appreciated for the work she's doing, and it's consuming her. So it's consuming her all the time. So when she's in works all these hours, then she finishes, then she's consuming, then she goes to sleep, then she wakes up, and then so she's got that, and she's kind of getting the gym, and even in the gym, she'll be thinking about the stuff, this meeting, and someone's been a pain in the ass, and It's crazy.
And that's most people, even not at that level though. Nowadays, you can work all the time. People are getting worked into the ground. They check their emails first, but they check their emails at 7 a.m. on average. The average person works like pretty much they're checking emails all day.
Exactly.
They, even if you're not working, your mind's there all day.
100%. But what will happen is a lot of people who aren't aware of the 5 pillars of fulfillment, they will then drop the other pillars because I've got this, I'm too busy, I'm going to do this. So your health and fitness goes, your inner work goes. Well, they don't realize you're dropping all of your dopamine, you're dropping all of the feelings as a human of progress. Where's your fucking win? You ain't got one. And over a period of time, it just chips away at your soul. And then people's fucking life force drops, and then their want of where they are. And that's what leads people ultimately to where they are. So even if you're solid in a couple, you kind of, I've got these nailed in. I've got my safety nets. I'm going to tackle the world. Yes, I'm going to have bumps here and here. I'm aware of it, but I've got these locked in.
You've got the resilience.
And that's why health and fitness, I understand nutrition is powerful, but also some of these might just be inner work. They get up, they meditate, they really connect to themselves, and that might be their powerful thing. Somebody else's might be something else.
True.
But I think, having a solid safety net somewhere, build from there, and then let it ripple through the other areas of fulfillment.
100%.
So, good, really good to catch up. And I just wanted to wrap up because I think it's important to call out, what we're doing and why we're doing it. We're just a couple of lads from the UK having a chat now, right? Why are we doing this? Because of everything that we've discussed. We're doing this because society is losing its way. Humans are forgetting what it is to be a human. Young people are killing themselves at an unprecedented rate. It's phenomenal, right? So what are we doing? Are we perfect? No. We've just spoken here about all the fuck-ups that we've done, the ups and downs, the mental health, this, that, and the other. But there's lessons from that for us. We grow. And even just sharing this, we release crap, we release traumas. It's beautiful to do this sharing.
100%.
So what we're saying is, if more people, I know there'll be people in the UK going, who does he think he is? I'm just sharing some of my shit.
Yeah, 100%.
And I want to help. I am obsessed with the opportunity to try and help society reduce suicidality. So I'm going to give it a go.
100%.
I guarantee.
And most people, and that's the reality, we just accept that most people, again, because unfortunately, like you say, most people are not happy with themselves internally.
100%.
So if they see someone like you or me talking about this, like, who does you think it is? That's because, again, unfortunately, a lot of people, they've got the void there, they're not happy, and people project it, but that's sad though, man, and they can get to a good level themselves in terms of their health.
But what I'm saying is, it's like this, our ups and everything. Life's like that. If
100%.
you coach in the gym, you still have your downs. I still fuck up every day.
100%.
But it's about being aware. So what are we trying to do here? We're just, obsessed with making a difference. And you've got to get rid, and I just express more people. I say it, vulnerability is a superpower. For a human being vulnerable is instantly connected to someone else. It gets rid of the shit. People lower their fucking guard and you can connect. So I'm saying if more people spoke like this to their friends or to others, you would create friends by being vulnerable. Instead of being the tough guy, getting your ego in the way, get rid of your ego, be raw and vulnerable. People will warm to you and then you can open up other things. So what I'm trying to say is I wish more people would have these discussions and open up, because vulnerability is a superpower. And I just want to kind of end it on that and saying, this is all we're trying to do. We're just trying to have good chats, go through some experience, and hopefully help society to understand what we truly are as humans.
100%, man. I love it. And I'd just like to finish that with, love what is going on here, man. And I've had a few kind of moments myself, right, where I've just been like, oh man, there's a call in here, because there's so many people in general, right? But, men in particular, if we look at, the proofs in the pudding, unfortunately, with the facts. And, it's not complicated, like you say. And that's the problem. There's so much information out there nowadays. We're in the information era, right? Podcast, it's all there, the information, more than ever. But all of these stats with suicide, with bloody chronic illness, obesity, they're getting worse and worse, right? So something is not right. And that is the true authentic self, right? It comes back to that. It's like a lot of people are unfortunately unfulfilled, like you said, about with their work and stuff like that. And I know, and it can be overwhelming as well. If you listen to that, you're like, oh yeah, but I'm in a job that I hate. How do I get out of this? It's easy for you to say, kind of thing, right? But the reality is there's only so far you can go, unfortunately, before you have a crisis point. Or it might not be a crisis, but where you hit a wall, or at least you get to a point in your life where you look back and go, because there's one thing you're not going to get back, man, is time. Time is one commodity you never get back. So we really have it's a short time we've got here, man. And I've really some stuff going on in my personal life and stuff like that back home. And yeah, like that, the trip away switched my perspective a bit in certain areas just to make me realize. And also, as you know, the spiritual journey I've been on this year in terms of, Janini's super spiritual. She prays every night. She has since she was a kid. I've been praying every night pretty much now since, for a good few months, and just kind of getting more. And look, I'm not saying you have to be spiritual and, all that kind of stuff. I'm just saying that having something like that, like a higher purpose, and just understand that there is a higher power, and just it helps me connect to my soul more. Just simply praying every night. And yeah, man, I just wanted to say that it's amazing to have a chat with you, bro. And yeah, I could talk to you all day, man. But what you said there, I'd love to finish it on that as well. Yeah, vulnerability is a superpower, because vulnerability equals what? Courage, right? When you have more courage, it helps other people, and number one, it helps you. So,
mate, I couldn't agree more. If more people are vulnerable, I think the world would be a better place. So, thank you very much, Marty. Good to see you back in Oz, and we'll catch up again very shortly.
Yeah, mate, good to see you, bro.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, my man.